Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, and we have to talk about probably the biggest story coming out of the music industry this week. It's Lizzo. She is under a lot of fire and a lot of criticism over a lawsuit that has just been filed by three of her former dancers, people who she came into contact with and joined her production company after they were featured on her, big girls show on Amazon. After, I guess, performing on that series to the degree that they did, they essentially joined Lizzo's touring team. And this 44-page lawsuit details many questionable experiences and interactions that they had while in the world of Lizzo. Now, if you read the headlines for this whole debacle right now, there are a lot of allegations being thrown at Lizzo right now. A rundown of them being mistreating these dancers, putting them in very precarious situations where they're feeling coerced and awkward. I've read what is listed as the factual allegations portion of the lawsuit that kind of, lists everything out. And it's not a good look. Not to say these are like the most damning allegations I've ever read about a public figure ever. They're not, but it all kind of adds up into a pretty unflattering picture for Lizzo when you take into account that her entire brand is understanding and equality and female empowerment. That's very much the opposite of what we are seeing depicted in this suit. Throughout these allegations, we have portions where dancers felt pressure to essentially be on Lizzo's good side and do whatever she wanted or whatever she was into in order to, see more financial opportunities and success within her production and touring company. They were repeatedly forced to deal with her dance captain, who has a lot of ink spilled in this suit. This woman repeatedly and constantly shoved her religion down the dancers' throats to the point where she was like using it as a tool to pry into their personal lives in a really gross way. Also using it as a way to link over to a really gross personal stuff that she should not have been talking about or bringing up in front of employees of a company that she works for. So there's that. There's this other big story where Lizzo kind of took her dancers out for a night on the town in the red light district in Amsterdam, which we don't need to get into what happened that night to really highlight how preposterous this is. Because like in one breath with these dancers and with these girls, it seems like Lizzo really wanted to create like, a friend group and have, everybody liking her and be Mrs. Popular and, just like create a social circle where everybody's kind of doing, cool, wild stuff, whatever she felt like doing. It's like she wants all the benefits of a friend circle, but then all the control of a boss when you're working in an office and you're dealing with highly sensitive information on a regular basis or something like that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. I am not an expert in California law. I cannot tell you off the top of my head like how much Lizzo could be liable for here. But I will say this, all these stories, all of these allegations add up into a very believable and ugly snapshot of what looks like Lizzo forming what's essentially like a mean girl clique, kind of running it like a frat house where everybody's being challenged to either perform up to a certain level, ingratiate themselves to Lizzo, and also involve themselves in whatever debauchery the group has to do collectively in order to, keep things tight. Weed out the weak ones or the ones who might snitch or go against the grain or not follow along with whatever Lizzo wants or asks for. That behavior and those patterns fly in the face of that female empowerment narrative. I mean, sure, Lizzo at the end of the day may not be into or may spit in the face of like patriarchy on some level. Granted, patriarchy does suck. It sucks. It's terrible. But when you replace that hierarchy with just another mean hierarchy where people are being taken advantage of, the problem isn't solved. At the end of the day, that's kind of what it seems like has happened here. Lizzo kind of ruling with an iron fist over here, trying to use her power and her influence to get these girls to like her, to work for her, to follow her around without that much of a promise of continued steady work or all that great pay for that matter. So yeah, all of that, the whole being controlling thing with recordings and information getting out, and then finally on top of it, making these dancers deal with this absolutely crazy woman who, in response to these allegations, did nothing but go on to Instagram and talk about how God is great and God is this and God is that.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to get on here really quick and say God is so, so good. Glory to God. I just wanted to remind you that He is love, He is truth, He is the light, He is the first and the last, and all things work together for those that are called according to His purpose.
She's literally being accused of forcing her religion onto other people, and she decided to retort by forcing her religion onto people on Instagram. So yeah, this is not a good look. This is not a good look. On top of that, also not a good look is that there have been some former collaborators of Lizzo's recently that after these allegations came out, pretty much confirmed like, yeah, you know, I had a similarly crappy experience with her too. And furthermore, Lizzo just today came out with a statement in response to these allegations, and I looked at it before I read the allegations. The way it reads is she's just kind of crossing her fingers here and hoping nobody looks at this damn lawsuit. She knows most of her hardcore fans are not going to look at the thing. I'm not like tearing Lizzo down or calling her the most awful person in the planet. She would be far from the first person in the music industry to use their influence to be like, you know, kind of a jerk, kind of a tyrant. Believe me, there's a lot of those in the music industry today. Like some of your favorite artists ever who are still putting out records. But again, specifically in the case of Lizzo, it is a bad look because her brand allegedly stands in opposition to that. Furthermore, what's also bad is that with this behavior, she's victimizing the exact demographic of women who she purports to be, you know, basically a beacon of light for. When at least from the way this lawsuit reads, it's like she's using that brand to, you know, pull these sorts of people in who identify with her and love her and see something in what she does, see something of themselves in it, and then, you know, use that kind of like starry-eyed look like, oh my God, Lizzo, to make them malleable to, you know, this little mean girl clique that she's pulled together here. Again, that's just like another stripe of taking advantage of people in a weird and gross way. It's weird and gross. It's not cool. And while sure, there is a possibility that some of what's being said in this suit is embellished in some way or something like that, how Lizzo and her company and her dance captain have responded to all of this, it's not really shaking any belief that I have so far in these allegations. It's not just about the music at the end of the day. You know, it's about what Lizzo sort of stands for and what she stands against that so many of her fans loved and cared about. This suit makes a lot of those principles seem kind of like BS.